Joe, welcome and thank you so much for joining us. I was very excited when I first heard about what you did in your business, and in particular the link to animals, because I know that there are many, many people in our complementary network that are great animal fans,
Mhm.
and have animals around us. And just to kind of put this all in perspective, our complementary therapy and beauty therapy industry, we spend a lot of time trying to identify what the potential cause could be for our clients' underlying health conditions. And while we cannot diagnose at all, it's great to be able to have some tools in our toolbox to be able to say, have you thought about this? Have you looked at this website? Maybe you might like to consider. So that's the language that we use. And for us as therapists, we are constantly washing our hands. We're constantly making sure that our environment that we are working in is clean. We want to make sure the air is clean, our hands are clean, our worktops that we are working. And so an awful lot of people use chemical cleaners. And certainly during COVID, we all used an awful lot and far too much antibacterial gel and washes and things. And when I was chatting to you, it became very apparent that actually you've got the solution to potentially our problems. So I'm so excited to hear from you. So thank you ever so much.
Oh, look, it's great to be here, and thank you for inviting me on, Louise. It's a pleasure. I know you don't do this lightly, so there's a trust involved here for you to bring our information and present it to your colleagues and your group and so on. So thank you. And I love this connection because, as you say, your whole industry, you look at things holistically with a W in front of the H, right? So the whole thing. And there's so many contributing factors to increases in various illnesses uh these days. And you and your wonderful people are very often face to face with that, not as you say in a medical diagnosing situation, but in a complementary way, and in backing up and making people feel better and hopefully preventative, um, which is just so important. And there's some things out there that when you get to know them, you can never unknow them.
Mm.
And we've been on a bit of a journey when it comes to say food. What food we eat. And there's a quote I read one time. It said, "If it doesn't look like food, don't eat it." And then I thought about this when I was diving into a big glazed donut a couple of weeks ago, going, "It doesn't look like food," but would my great great grandparents recognize this as food if they walk past it? No. So anyway, um, and food is just part of it. So we come from the environment, the external environment side, and we got involved in this whole thing. We're going to go through it and explain it. I've got some slides. I'm not going to sort of go into everyone. Some of them we're just going to fly right past, but just to give you an idea of just the depth of what's going on. So we got involved in this because our background was air quality. We were very invested in and aware of the air people breathe it in and the effect that can have on them. So what we call wellness in the built environment. So health and wellness in the built environment. That was our industry. And the built environment is anything that you're sitting in that's being built. It could be a train carriage, it could be the pub, it could be your car, it could be your home right now, it could be your office, whatever. It's been built, you're inside it. It's the built environment. So inside, you're subject to different things than you are outside. Okay, it doesn't rain quite as much indoors, but there again, you have other things to deal with. So that was our background, and we were doing high grade air purification, and we wanted to stop people using something called air fresheners. And I'm going to do this, the air quotes everybody hates it, air fresheners. So how they get to call them air fresheners when they're sometimes full of some serious chemicals and get sprayed around is a whole other thing. But anyway, we found a way that we could, as well as air, purifying the air, that we could stop the odors. And if we stop odors, then we stop people reaching for that chemical that's going to put another smell over on top of the odor smell without actually getting rid of the problem. So that's where probiotics got involved with us. We were putting them into air conditioning systems, and we would blow them through the system, and they would enter then through the normal way into the office or into the home or whatever it happened to be, the restaurant, whatever. And you can imagine, you know, the cloth back of a chair here. And how do you clean that? How do you get that properly clean? It's going to build up with dead skin cells and all kinds of stuff. And they're going to get fed on by certain kinds of bacteria that can give off smells, and now you're spraying a chemical. Okay. We also wanted to stop some of those bioallergens, those dead skin cells, dust mite poo, whatever. They were actually part of our air quality control, because these would be like triggers for people with hay fever and so on. So it was a double win. So we put the probiotics out there in a spray, and I'm just going to spray one here just across the camera. It might show up, it might not. Okay, you can see that. So the probiotics are going into the environment, and they are landing on the surfaces. And probiotics is a very broad term. It's the World Health Organization uses it to describe any microorganism that confers a benefit to the host. Most people would be aware of something they're going to drink, a yogurt-based thing with good bacteria for the gut, called a probiotic. Absolutely correct. But there's many, many, many kinds. We're dealing with the probiotics on the outside, not the inside. Safe for the inside, but that's not our target, right? So here we go in this environment, be it your training center or whatever. We're putting the probiotics there, landing on the surface. By the way, I've just dived into this now, probably on slide 7 when it starts sharing. So, but in the bottle, they're asleep, you know, and there's a whole technology around how you do that, how you keep them asleep. Okay. Think of it like grass seeds in your hand. You put grass seeds in your hand, and nothing is ever going to happen until you put them in the ground, give them some water. They've got food in there, and then they germinate. They go from spore to vegetative. Okay, and that's the transition. And that's the same thing we do with the probiotics. So we have different combinations of probiotics that would be in that particular spray. And they're going to consume those organic waste allergens, that whether it's just bits of food or molecules of fecal matter, whatever happens, we're just surrounded by. Don't worry about it, guys. But you know, if you're a germaphobe, switch off now. You know? So we're eating those organic waste. Now, by doing that in the right amount of numbers, we outcompete the bad bacteria. And initially for us, that was to do with smells. Remember, we're stopping people spraying chemicals. Why are we stopping? Let's go back to the beginning. Why are we stopping people spraying chemicals? Well, look, you breathe in a hell of a lot more than you eat. And we all know how important what you take into your body is. And we mostly think about that, whether it's a fish and chips from the chipper or something that actually you've made yourself that it's properly healthy, or everything in between. So the average human adult is breathing maybe 11 kilograms a day. So can you imagine what 11 kilograms of air looks like? No, it's a lot. So I think 1 cubic meter of air would weigh a kilogram. So it's 11. It's a lot of coming into your lungs, and your lungs have these brilliant filters they're taking things out of the air, and you breathe it out, and there's different things coming out of you that went into you. There's the oxygen has been trapped, and so on and so forth. So whether it's microplastics or whether it's chemicals, here we are going into your body in substantial amounts. So this is where our air quality interest was coming from. Now, around about this time, we had an incident in the office where one of the guys on our team showed me his iPad and said, "Hey, look, the cleaner was in on Sunday instead of Saturday this weekend." Now, how'd you know? And because I know we got no cameras, and he said, "Oh," and he showed me the results of the our air quality monitor. He said we had the spike on Sunday. We normally have the spike on the Saturday. No one's in the office except the cleaner, and we have a spike. And we went, "Oh, hang on a minute." As well as removing the bad things from the air, we got to stop people putting new bad things into the air. So we're putting this high-grade air purification, catalytic converters, and all kinds of stuff. And the cleaners come along and spraying stuff. Hang on, what are they spraying? And so that got us down to that white rabbit hole. Okay. Now at that stage, we found that the probiotic was also available in a cleaning form. So now we're using a probiotic approach rather than an antibacterial chemical-based approach. Okay. So I'm just looking at we've got somebody waiting to join us as well. So this was a whole new thing. So hang on, we can actually reduce people's chemical exposure, knowing that they're breathing in 10, 12 kilograms a day, knowing that that this stuff can't be that good for you in two ways. First of all, you're wiping out the microbiome of the surface. What happens next? Let's get back to that. But before we do, let's talk about things we started finding out, like just how bad chemical cleaning products might be for you. And what is the increased rate of cancer in the cleaning operative? Somebody who's cleaning every day as a job. And we found out they were 58% more likely to get various kinds of cancer. So, whoa, hang on a minute. This is now our direction. So yes, we can clean the air up, but let's stop the bad things going in. And let's look at what happens when we wipe out the microbiome. Now think about this in your, whoever's watching this, think of this in your therapy room. Louise has mentioned how we use antibacterial cleaning products a lot as a society. And again, go back to your great grandfather or your great grandmother and say, hey, tell you what we're going to do. In the name of hygiene, we're going to start using chemicals in the house. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. And then just watch their face and go, we're going to do what? We just use soap. Yeah, well, soap wasn't available during the Second World War, and they had all these chemicals. So hey, this is great. So now we got multi-billion-dollar industry of selling chemicals. So on one side, you got this connection with health. And when you look into that further, that's before we leave it, when you look into that, and I'm talking to you guys, and I know you're picking up on this. When we talk to the cleaning industry, they pick up on it a lot less so. So when we say, look, there's issues around child obesity linked with household chemicals, including cleaning products. There's links with child asthma. I mentioned earlier cancer rates. And this is serious stuff. And there's other things when it comes into products that they use in the cleaning products linked with dog deaths, linked with female fertility issues. And we haven't even talked about antimicrobial resistance yet, actually creating stronger bugs.
I've definitely heard about the infertility issue around chemicals, cleaning chemicals. I just wondered if you had come across anything linked with ADHD.
Not briefly, recently.
Mm.
And when you're talking about the gut-brain axis,
Yes. Yeah.
and then you're talking about the chemical, you're talking about the increase in ADHD, the increase in autism. Okay, links with various childhood inoculations and so on. Links also with things like depression, serious clinical depression, all from the gut microbiome. Even links with Crohn's disease
Yeah.
from the gut microbiome. And the oral microbiome is linked to the gut microbiome. The delicate balance that's going on in the gut microbiome is still being uncovered. They still don't know all the details. But we know there's a very delicate thing going on in there. So yes, I've read references to that. I haven't read any particular studies, but yeah, so if you're changing the gut microbiome of a child to the point where it's affecting their weight control, and if you know there's linked to the gut microbiome with all kinds of, like, say, depression and so on, then I couldn't for sure say it's not linked with anything. It's literally like that. Now, you could also talk about microplastics in the air, microplastics in the water, what they put in the water, all of these things would also play a part. So the cleaning products isn't a silver bullet in terms of changing it over from that point of view, but it's part of the array and combination of things that the human body is exposed to and subjected to daily that it wasn't exposed to and subject to a long time ago, when I was at school, somebody with autism was a very rare thing. Now, people getting autism diagnosis later in life in their 30s is a very real thing, and I know people with just that. So ADHD, It's a thing. I wouldn't be so bold as to say, look, it's a very uh can be a very difficult thing to do, and there's behavior training and new medications that I know are out at the moment as well. But yeah, I'd say, won't it be a good thing to reduce your chemical exposure? Dot 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 dot. That's it. And where can you reduce your chemical exposure, and where is it difficult to reduce your chemical exposure? So let's say you've got a treatment table, and let's say that treatment table is fireproof, let's say, so that somebody drops a cigarette who's going to be smoking in one of your therapy rooms, I know, but let's say a candle, whatever, that it's less likely to burst into flames. The chemicals involved in that are a little bit more difficult to get out of your life. So other chemicals, easy, you can choose what you eat, you can choose what wrapper it comes in, and so on. And you can certainly choose things like what you're going to spray on your body to make yourself smell nice. And you can choose your cleaner products very easily. So you look at the lower hanging fruit there and go, okay, look, I can't change the carpet here. I can't do this. Okay, but I can do this, this, and this, and this, and I can reduce my chemical intake and chemical exposure, and not just for me, but for the people around me. We end up talking about this a lot with pet owners, because with aware pet owners, and again, all your group leads, they'd all be very aware in what they do, and looking holistically at, what combinations of things are affecting my client here, and they're doing reflexology, what else is happening, and so on.
I often
But
find actually, Joe, that a lot of therapists or people in general actually spend more time and effort on their pets than they do on themselves.
yeah, yeah. Oh, look, it it's so interesting, and I tell the story because we use the probiotics. The probiotic technology we use in cleaning, we use directly onto animals. I spray it into there's a dental one that I spray directly into my cat's mouth every day. Okay, because it's fighting against gingivitis, and it's fighting against plaque and tartar, and so on. I'm thinking, do I look after the cat more than I look after myself? Yeah. Do I know people who definitely look after their 10 dogs more than look after themselves? Absolutely. And that comes to food, it comes to everything. But there's a wonderfulness to that. There's a brightness, like light in the dark kind of thing. And those people tend to be, I think, tend to be very much part of the positive part of society. So whether you're treating somebody through reflexology because it's something you're trying to help them with, or whether you're looking after your pet, whatever's firing off in your brain is the same. Whatever good things you're doing, it's the same. And the world needs more holistically minded people in all of these walks. But
More reflexologists.
more reflexology. The world cannot possibly have enough ever. Yes, exactly. So here we are. We're reducing people's chemical exposure. We're talking to the people who use a lot of chemicals. Traction's not great. Why not? Oh, okay, because we're brought up. I remember the ad that said something like, we have to kills all known germs dead, right? So we were brought up on this, puts Dettol in the bath when we were kids and all that kind of stuff. Kill. Bacteria. What did I die of? Died of a bacterial infection. Bacteria, but must kill bacteria, must kill bacteria. Okay. Well, look, every form of life on the planet is derived from bacteria. Our bodies are very heavily dependent upon bacteria, and without bacteria, you're going to die. It's just a matter of time. Some insects will never get past the larvae stage without the right bacteria, right? So this is completely integral and important in our life. So spraying something that's designed to kill bacteria, spraying that around your house and around your treatment room when you're exposing people then whose bodies are completely dependent upon bacteria. And not only that, but you can affect the balance, because you know that when you clean a surface, and you can clean your surface, you clean your treatment with, let's say you bleach it, and there's not you've been really good, you've gone around on the bottom and all the nooks and crannies and in hinges, absolutely killed every single bit of bacteria. What happens next? How long does it stay like that for? Even without, well, as soon as the next person walks in with their 20 to 30 trillion bacteria on them, in them, and around them, never mind you yourself, even without anybody going into the room, how many minutes, and you are talking in terms of minutes, before that surface is covered again in bacteria, and you don't know what kind of bacteria it's going to be. Also, what happens, and I'm going to jump onto some slides in a minute, Louise, because I think people probably need a break from looking at me and listening to me at the same time. So I've got some slides. But also what we find is there's a counterintuitive thing that happens. When you're wiping out bacteria willy-nilly, and most bacteria, 99 point something percent of bacteria is not bad for you. It's just there. But when you're killing bacteria, you're killing all the bad bacteria. So when people say you die from a bacterial infection, whoa, which bacterial infection? Okay, some kind of E. coli. Okay. Not all E. coli is bad for you, but this particular one is, so he died from, okay, so that 1.0001%, whatever. So you're going to get rid of all the bacteria. But sometimes what happens is some of those guys will get resistant. They become resistant to the cleaning product. So now you have this thing where, can you imagine if you were trying to breed bacteria and say, I want to create some really stronger bad bacteria? Well, what you do, if you wrote down the protocol, you'd say, well, let's kill off the weak ones. Let's kill all their competition. So now only the strongest of that bad bacteria survive, and we really do a number on their competition as well. And now what you've got replicating and reproducing is the stronger, resistant versions of the bad bacteria. That's what we do in cleaning. Okay, that's how we breed stronger bacteria. So the word for that is antimicrobial resistance. So bacteria is resistant to, from a health point of view, resistant to cleaning products, resistant to antibiotics, and this is such a problem that the government got involved in this a few years ago, and they were issuing directives to the animal care industry, because they use a lot in animal care industry, of antibiotics. They had to reduce, they had numbers targets to reduce because of the problem it's causing. Not just because it's ending up, you can find it in the rivers and the sewage systems. You can go into a sewage system and see the levels of antimicrobial resistance just by looking at the poo. Okay, so it's going through into the environment, all these antimicrobials. So you end up by creating stronger bugs. And we did a swab of a dentistry before COVID and during COVID. And during COVID, if you can imagine the different bacteria listed as a bar graph, all these different kind of bacteria in a bar graph. And that's diversity. And you want diversity. Diversity is good because a little bit of salmonella, fine. A little bit of E. coli, no problem. As long as the bad ones are down here and the good ones are way up here. It's a balance. Okay, that's absolutely fine. Mother Nature's been doing that for 3.5 billion years. Thank you very much. Okay, it works. So that's what we're doing, and that's where we get really good results. But what they found is when they did the second swab during COVID, and guess what they were doing a lot more of in this dentistry during COVID? Yeah, lots more antibacterial cleaning. And yes, the bar graph of the number of bacteria shrinks. There is less bacteria. Well, hey, but actually there's 2.5 times more streptococcus. 2.5 times, not just a bigger percentage, obviously there is, but in the actual number of streptococcus, it's 2.5 times worse. So you could, in round figures, describe that as 2.5 times less hygienic, shiny, clean looking, whatever, but 2.5 times less hygienic with one of the bacteria that you really don't want to get into your open gums. Okay, you really don't want any strep getting in there. Now you've got a real problem. And you think, okay, well that's what's happening in dentists. What about hospitals? Well, there's a great piece I read from 2005 from University College Hospital, I think it was. And the professor was there saying, look, what we need to stop using antibacterial cleaning products, because he was seeing a direct correlation between the parts of the hospital that were cleaned most and the rise of MRSA. He said, what we need to do is clean our hands with soap and yogurt. Now, this was way before, our cleaning products were even a twinkle in the eye. But that's the thing. Hey, we need to repopulate instead of wiping out that surface microbiome. And you talked about earlier, the hand gels, and we wrote, I think, in the first month of of lockdown, we were writing to various people going, this is going to be a problem. The hand gels are going to cause a problem. And I think in July of the first year, it appeared in one of the dailies. Yeah, antimicrobial resistance, stronger bugs being caused by antibacterials. How much did that stop people using antibacterials? Not at all. Not at all. Because we're being led by, you've got to kill bacteria, you've got to kill viruses, you've got to kill, you know. And when the government issued their, you know, advice, they said, wash your hands and sing happy birthday. Do you remember that? Wash your hands, sing happy birthday. They didn't say wash your hands with acetone or wash your hands with, you know, aftershave. So just wash
Mm.
your hands.
Mm.
And people forget that when it comes to stewardship, the physical act of clean, whatever you use, clean well and clean properly and clean diligently. So, whereas what we're looking for is a quick fix, spray this, anti that, breathe it in, get it in your skin, and so on. So when you zoom out and look at that and apply it to the world that you guys inhabit, and you've got people in front of you who have um, mild to severe cases. But even those mild cases, you know, how are things showing up? Lethargy, chronic fatigue, who knows, you know, what kind of disruptions are going on? So we do this with animals a lot because what we found, let me explain. We found that the pet owner is so much aware. Think of the dog in particular, cat to a lesser degree, but think of the dog like the canary in the coal mine. The dog is sleeping naked on the kitchen floor. The dog is re-wetting products that are so-called pet safe. When you read the small print, it might say, keep your dog out of the kitchen for a half an hour, let the floor dry. Then your dog sweats through his paws or her paws, and they re-wet. So then the cleaning chemicals. So now they're absorbing it to the skin of their paws, and maybe they're licking the paws, so they're ingesting the chemicals as well. And some dogs will sweat in areas that don't have hair. And also you get male and female dogs who maybe don't always go to the toilet as cleanly as other dogs, and you end up with other parts of the body wet. So we get sent photographs of canine genitalia sometimes. And what you're looking at is effectively mild chemical burns. And not only that, but you're wiping it. So forget about the chemicals. Say, okay, well, maybe it's not going to be strong enough. So we've seen some nasty ones, but let's just say it's not that strong. But at the very least, they're now re-wetting an antibacterial product. So what is happening to their skin, where the bacteria in the skin, remember, the dog, 20 trillion microorganisms in them, on them, around them, all fine balance. And that question I mentioned earlier, you use an antibacterial product, what happens next? Dot, dot, dot. You don't know. So what we do with probiotics is we do know what happens next because we take control of that. Because when you put a probiotic on there as either a cleaning agent or a dog shampoo, whatever, it's the same principle. You know what the microbiome of that surface is because you've put it there. So we take what we know to be a healthy microbiome and that's what we use to clean. Yes, when it comes to cleaning products, it's got to have some natural surfactants. We use surfactants derived from coconut sugars to help break down the dirt because you need to get rid of the dirt, right? You can't just spray something over dirt. So you get rid of the dirt, but what's left behind is the probiotics. How do they work? I do have slides, by the way, and I will go into them in a minute, but I've probably covered them all already. How do they, how do they work after? How do they replace chemicals? Well, that spray I did earlier, that's landed on the keyboard of my laptop, which I do regularly because there's a certain little cat that likes to sit on there, and I don't know how well she's always grooming herself, so hopefully her bottom isn't that dirty, but it's on my keyboard. And how do you clean underneath the keys of your keyboard, right? So we spray the probiotics now. I mentioned their sleep, and then when they bump into food, they wake up and they produce enzymes. So some of your people will be aware of enzymatic cleaning, right? And you think of the enzymes like a knife and a fork, they're breaking down the molecules, makes it easier to wash them away. Well, for us, we break down the molecules, and yes, it makes it easier to wash away, but also makes it easier then for the probiotics to eat them. So the probiotics will release an enzyme. And if they bump into something like a little molecule of fecal matter, sorry, cat, or if they bump into like dried blood, they'll produce rather different enzymes. So the same probiotic can reduce different enzymes depending on what food source it bumps into. And if it bumps into something that isn't the food source for it, it won't activate. That's why you have multiple different probiotics in the products, because that would be food for one of the other probiotics, and so you have multiple arrays and combinations and permutations. Obviously, if you spray directly onto a surface with no organic, which has really been irradiated, the probiotics will stay asleep until such time as they do bump into food. So now they've got oxygen, they've got food, they wake up, and they go through about a 3-day life cycle. So when you're spraying it around your therapy room and the probiotics are getting into the nooks and crannies that are difficult to clean, they'll bump into some organic waste, dead skin cells, dust mite poop is a big one, they'll open up and they'll start it. But in 3 days, those probiotics are gone. Okay. And they're designed that way. That's why, because you're going to be reapplying them anyway. I think, Louise, if you're okay, I think it's a good time to jump onto a slide, if that's okay.
Absolutely. You should be able to share your screen.
Okay. Oh my gosh. I don't want to see what's on my screen.
Yeah, choose the right screen.
Uh, so just getting used to Zoom, everybody. I'm a Teams guy. Useful links, but to the room finished. Here we go. There we go. Can you see that now?
It's happening. There we go. Yes.
Okay. So I'm not gonna read through all these, but there's a couple of slides on here that's quite good. I like this one because I think this really is you guys to a T. You're looking at all the different things that your client is involved in, Are they stressed? Are they eating right? Are they sleeping right? What food they're eating? All these kind of things come into the play. You're not just giving them reflexology and shouting next, you're aware of the holistic thing and the built environments there and outdoor environments. That's a really interesting. Now you're talking about road pollution. You're talking about what the farmer is spraying in the crops that particular week, and we've gone through this a lot, and I just want to flag a couple of things. So the antimicrobial resistance, it's caused by two things. It's caused by cleaning products, chemicals going way back to the Victorian age, before even antibiotics were invented. And it's caused by mis and overuse of antibiotics. And the World Health Organization is saying, look, if we don't change what we're doing, by 2050, this will be a bigger killer than cancer. So let's not. And people are finding MRSA in the dog feeding bowl. How the hell did you get MRSA in a dog feeding bowl? Well, probably because of cleaning products. Okay. So the takeaways here, connections with asthma, reproductive system issues, digestive tract issues, skin issues, lung cancer rates, and so on. And there's people out there in various different industries. I mentioned here, there's one for CIBSE, which is a Chartered Institute of Building Service Engineering. And even they say, so they're the people responsible for the plumbing and the lighting and the air conditioning and the ventilation. And they say, be aware of cleaning products. They are a pollutant and they are a problem. Okay, so it's at that level. And I'm just going to fly through here because this slide shows what we do. On the left, you're cleaning with standard antibacterials, wiping it all out, but a few of the bad ones stay on and they multiply. And you end up with the bottom circle. Whereas when you change the balance and the probiotics simply outcompete the bad bacteria, so they don't kill the bad bacteria, they just outcompete them. They take the food source. So the bad bacteria don't have the space and the food to thrive. So when you clean it, your treatment table, let's say, or your treatment, yeah, let's call it a table. If you wipe it all out with all the good bacteria, you don't know what's going to land next and what's going to take hold. But when you leave there a home guard of good bacteria, a good microbiota, a good microbiome, then when that bit of salmonella or whatever lands, it's got no room, it's got no food, it just fades away. Okay. And that's why we get much bigger results, much better results. And going into the medical application, there was a few years ago, there was a trial done in 5 hospitals in Italy over a year, 25,500 swabs. It was a big event, 5 hospitals, 3 universities. The information isn't ours, we weren't involved, but we can send people a link where they can read about it in one of the medical journals. Now, by changing from the traditional antibacterial kill approach to a probiotic approach and measuring everything, they found that they reduced healthcare acquired infections by 52%. Now, before COVID, we were looking at the figures for the NHS as best we could find because they're difficult to find. You know, we believed that that translated into saving the life of 19 people a week, every week in the NHS. If you just translate that reduction in healthcare acquired infections, that's on top of the fact that those people wouldn't be in hospital as long, beds would be freed up. In Italy, there was a reduction of resistant bacteria between 79 and 99%, depending on which bacteria you were looking at. And there was a reduction in cost and a reduction in antibiotic drug use. Okay, so is this safe for my treatment room? Yeah, much so. And this thing about resistant is very interesting. So when one bacteria becomes resistant, it can transfer that resistant ability to its buddies. Right? Think of it like you all get a game, or one of you gets a game on a memory stick, and you can pass it to all your laptops, and now you've all got the game. That's how that goes. So the probiotics have to be chosen specially not to do that. But that's how antimicrobial resistance grows, and that's why you can get very surprised at just how much resistant bacteria you find. And things that are on the grow in homes, for example, I was reading about C. difficile last year. You know, that was used to be only associated with people with low immune systems, chemo, whatever, in hospitals. Now it's finding it in the home. C. diff, you know. Okay, so the probiotics are helping as well, getting rid of organic waste. And I'm putting that slide up because I like it. I like the unwashed hands. Everybody goes, "Ooh." Okay. So I'm flying through. The other thing you talk about is biofilm. So you can imagine bad bacteria getting into some nooks and crannies. You know, you're talking about under a microscope on the surface of your treatment table. And they produce like a gel, for want of a better word, a biofilm that helps protect them against things like cleaning products. Okay, if you ever see kind of an orangey film in your showers, that's just biofilm, and you can usually wipe it away. But a lot of times these things are there to protect the bad bacteria. So the probiotics will go in and they'll disrupt that and they'll eat it. And they may produce their own biofilm, but it's a safe one. And you can get infections from the biofilm of bad bacteria as well as from the bad bacteria themselves. Okay, so I'm flying through this. Here's that slide I mentioned, where this one is about the tray holder in the dentist before and during COVID. You can see the bottom one is before COVID and the top one is during COVID. Less bacteria, but way more of the pink one. The pink one is strep. Okay, so I'm flying through here because I want to show you some links just to give you an idea. So we're talking about getting away from products that can affect your equipment as well. You know, in gyms, cleaning products are a problem because they affect the delicate equipment. They can cause a lot of financial damage. But we just want to get you away from the chemicals. Now, I'm not going to go through each and every one of these. Don't worry. But I just want to show you, this is something I put together before. These are all the different reports talk about. This one's all about antimicrobial resistance. Here you go, hand sanitizer. The next one, antimicrobial resistance. Talking about hand sanitizers again, dentistry. The improvements I saw in health in the dentistry, that was in Dubai, I think, from switching over. British Lung Foundation, your indoor air pollutants, and they mention cleaner products. Royal College of Physicians and Child Health, they mention cleaning products as part of the problem. Okay. Microbiome issues for indoor pollutants, including detergents and soap. These are just things. These are all available um, on Google, basically, if you go down enough rabbit holes. Okay, but you have to go looking for this one. Cleaning products and gym equipment is an interesting one. There was an accident where a climbing rope gave way and they put it down to the cleaning products. The amount of bacteria we breathe in, so you're breathing bacteria in every day is fine. Your body can normally deal with it. Okay. Exposure to cleaning chemicals, chemical intake, home bio, direct dangers, things from the BBC, what's lurking under your sink. Okay, so we just wanted to point out that just the sheer amount of information out there. And these two are interesting because gut microbiome health linked to slowing HIV progression. So your gut microbiome is so important. Let's reduce the things that we're exposed to that can disrupt this. Okay, so your gut microbiome, it's very clever. We don't go there, we're not involved. But certain bacteria do certain jobs inside your gut, and your gut recognizes certain bacteria and will allow them closer to the gut lining to help repel other bacteria that can penetrate the gut lining. So if you're ever talking to anybody about leaky gut, have a look at what they're eating, have a look at their gut microbiome. Okay. Um, this one about pet skin allergies, that's an interesting one because it links directly canine atopic dermatitis. And you wouldn't believe the amount of poor dogs that have itchy skin. It's crazy. But again, think of the dog as a canary in the coal mine. And this study linked directly poor indoor air quality and atopic dermatitis in dogs. Direct link. What it said was that the pollution was affecting the skin at cellular level. There we go. Climate change. This is a big one for us. Um, we were being involved in heat pumps and energy use reduction and so carbon reduction for absolute years before we got involved in this. But now we understand that actually the biggest greenhouse gas isn't carbon, it is water vapor. And there's so much chemicals now in washing out into the ocean. And by chemicals, you can include antidepressants, um, oh, the contraceptive pill, probably Viagra, cocaine, and it's affecting all kinds of wildlife. And there's lots of studies out there about how the wildlife are being affected by Prozac and so on. But in the oceans, it's showing up as an increase in the evaporation rate. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you're killing off the bio stuff in the water is slightly less soupy. It's lighter and it's easier for the molecules to escape. So they're seeing an increase in evaporation of the oceans, therefore an increase in the biggest greenhouse gas, like I say, which isn't carbon. So the ocean starts at your sink. It starts at what you're washing your hands with, what you're putting down your toilet to clean, and that all going out into our rivers. And we know the effect on the rivers already. But what's less known is this whole thing with the oceans. So that's something else just to throw in. I know it doesn't affect your daily operation. So I'm going to stop sharing there and jump back on to, I've forgotten anything else. That's enough. Let's stop sharing. So basically, what we're doing is we're using probiotics instead of chemicals. These are probiotics that you find in nature. We can't make them. We can't create a bacteria. It's all about selection. You select ones that are non-mutative, that have a certain life span, that will be in spore form. They could be in spore form, so they stay asleep in the bottle. And that's it. And one of those is going to make 100. Sorry, one of those will actually make 200 of those. So keep it nice and cheap. That makes each one of those then, I don't know, 10p, 12p or something like that for refills. And we do a wide range of cleaning products, but really for you guys, you just need a universal one, maybe the floor one as well if you want to, but a universal singular product. We do a probiotic hand soap. Everything the same goes there, and we also do a probiotic odor remover. So if odors are a thing, we can do that with probiotics. So this one has an orange and pomegranate scent added. But basically, you're using an improvement in hygiene to stop odors happening, so you don't then want to. I've got to be careful what I say next because I know things like scented candles and so on would be part of it. But for us as air quality people, we know that the unburnt material, i.e., the smoke particulates, it's the same size as what they measure when they're looking at air quality index for outdoor pollution. So we'd say get away from that if you can. I don't use them at home, but my daughter likes them at Christmas. Hey, it's fine. A little bit of what you like does you good, right? But just trying to improve that whole, for your clients, they're only there for an hour. But when you're talking to them about their home,
Yeah.
then that becomes a thing. And again, we see direct correlation with pets.
Mm.
And we have people say, I plugged this thing in, and as soon as I plugged it in, the dog was a couple of days later, the dog's skin's going mad. Unplugged it,
Yeah.
problem went away. And sometimes it's just like the camel and the straw. And you're taking straws off the camel's back bit by bit. And no one straw is the problem. You could take 10 off and put one of the ones back and you'd still be okay, kind of thing. But that's where this fits in, taking those straws off. So for your own sake, what you're cleaning your own environment with and what you're speaking to your client about, if you've got a client coming in complaining about something and they're on 40 fags a day, you're going to say something, right? It's the same. And whilst being the main cleaner in the home isn't equivalent to 40 fags a day, it is equivalent to 20 fags a day.
Mm. I
Don't
think
expect.
we're a big advocate for how can we help our clients without diagnosing, analysing, dictating,
Yeah.
whatever. And it is a challenge, especially when we don't know too much. And what I'm wondering, Joe, is whether we can put together a simple fact sheet that that our therapists could potentially give to their clients, and would also then be able to direct them to your website with all of the lovely information as well. I think that would be quite a nice thing for
I'll do
therapists
that
to
for
have
you. Yeah.
something, a bit of ammunition to say, look, I'm not the world's expert, but here you are, have a look at this. This could be
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And for most people, if they're going to see a holistic minded physical therapist like reflexology or whatever, then they're
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
attuned.
Absolutely.
And
Mm.
we had somebody ring up yesterday. They had 4 dogs. One of them's got real problems. Why just one? But anyway, it was a brilliant conversation. But they were all, before they're speaking to us, they're already there. They're already aware of the glyphosate that the farmers are spraying. They're already aware of, you know, the evils of furniture polish or whatever. So your clients and your clients' clients all going to be already there, and I think they're gonna lap it up. Lap it up, is that too much of a pun when it comes to what's up behind me? Not sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Oh, actually,
amazing.
done
Thank
some
you so much.
these gruesome pictures behind me. They're for the pets, so we are actually spraying it directly onto. We get great results actually spraying directly onto open wounds. Even
Wow.
post-op, we're spraying this directly onto wounds post-operation and dental control and ear infections.
Mm.
Actually, if I could just leave you with a story, one of the biggest conversations we have with on the health side for animals is repeating ear infections. And I love how I got into this because our vet picked this up and ran with it. And then I started hearing stories about my own vet coming back to me and people saying that their dog was due to have their whole inner ear surgically removed because of repeat ear infections. And then it would get worse and would get worse and it'd go away with antibiotics and it'd come back and go and then eventually it would be Pseudomonas, which is a real difficult one to get rid of in the traditional way. Not difficulty for probiotics because it's a mechanical process. It doesn't matter whether we're getting rid of MRSA or Salmonella or whatever. But they've gone to this for a second opinion, gone to my vet, who said, no, no, no. He said, what we do is instead of wiping out the microbiome of the ear with antibiotics, and then finding that 2 weeks after the end of the course, the same dog is back again with a different bug, by the way,
Mm.
and the ear infection, but the pathogen is it's not that they didn't get rid of the pathogen, they got rid
Mm.
of it, did the job, but they've left the ear exposed and something else has taken up residence in there, and now we have another problem. And they got rid of that by just basically taking control of the microbiome of the ear, putting the probiotics in there. And numbers of cases where the dogs then didn't have to have their ear surgically removed and be deaf in that ear for the rest of their life and stopped the repeat infections. Now, if you take that analogy as something we deal with a lot and take that and apply it to cleaning of your therapy room, the same things apply. You wipe out the microbiome, ask yourself what happens next. So
Fabulous. I'm sure that my audience will have some questions, so I will forward them on to you for response if that's all right. But it's just been fascinating. And all of those links and things, can I have a copy of those so that I can send them out to my audience as well, so that if they want to know a little bit further, they can do
Yeah,
their own
what
research.
I'll do is I'll go through and I'll pick out the ones. Some of them are kind of
Okay,
similar to each other. I'll make it easy. I'll pick out the ones that
lovely.
salient points, if you
That's
like.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much.
You are more than welcome, Louise. It's been a real honor to be trusted to come here and speak to the people who trust you. So thank you for that. With the questions, by the way, I just want to say, please send them in. We've started collating the questions that we've been answering over the past few years, and we're about to release them on a new website in a couple of months' time. So
Fabulous.
the more the merrier. Ingenious-probiotics.
I'll put the link
Is
in
that
the
okay to say?
recording.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant.
Lovely.
But loads of you'll be able to go there and read loads
Mm,
and get lots of information for you and your clients.
fabulous. Thank you so much.
Louise, it's been great. Thank you for listening.